home is more than just shelter, a place to raise children and a private space to process your inner thoughts and feelings. Regardless of where you live, access to affordable housing is always a leading topic of conversation. This week, we are taking a closer look at how accessible affordable housing is in Africa and how women are breaking barriers in the real estate market. Hello, I am Simbanyi Shekoye and welcome to Our Voices. Africa is going through an infrastructure evolution, primarily in information technology and energy. As the continent's economy and population grows, the disparity in housing is becoming more prominent. It's not easy to change the living conditions for over 1 billion people. Nigeria's real estate market is expanding rapidly, and so is the number of people in need of affordable housing in Africa's most populous country. Nigeria's central bank says the country suffers from a deficit of at least 22 million homes. Timothy Obizu reports from Abuja.
Nigeria's real estate market grew by 3.85% last year, its highest in 6 years. Experts say cities like Lagos and Abuja have the kind of buildings and architecture that are in high demand. Even as the demand for higher-priced real estate increases, access to affordable housing is difficult for millions in Nigeria. Fashion designer Precious Nwajiako moved to Abuja in January.
I had to stay with my friend in, Maraba, just for a week. Then before getting myself here. And here is inside, like off town. And it's as well expensive, not even cheap.
Nwajiako paid 1 year's rent of $300 for this one-room apartment, but it does not even include basic comforts. The housing disparity reflects Nigeria's economic divide. The World Bank says 22 million people in Nigeria do not have the housing they need, the highest number in the world. It's an issue Nigerian authorities have been promising to address for many years. In 2019, government officials pledged to supply 1 million affordable houses each year to help meet the demand for proper housing. But experts say the housing programs are not keeping up with Nigeria's population growth each year.
If Nigeria is reproducing to the level of 5 million every year, how many units of houses has government provided in a year? How many units of houses has private sector produced in a year?
Festus Adebayo, who runs an advocacy campaign for affordable houses, hosts an annual gathering and housing show. It aims to bring government and industry together to address the lack of affordable housing. Adebayo warns housing gaps will only worsen by the time Nigeria's population hits the estimated 400 million in 2050. Property developer Banji Adeyemo cites several factors for the high cost of building homes.
This is an era where foreign exchange has taken the new toll entirely, and most of the construction materials are they have foreign inputs. Government need to hasten up to bring down the cost of land, and it will reflect on the cost of production by developers for houses, because other materials don't have control by it.
Nigerian lawmakers are considering a bill that calls for rent to be paid monthly instead of once a year to ease the financial burden on citizens. But unless more houses are built, say experts, the gap will only widen and millions will suffer without one of life's most basic needs, affordable shelter. Timothy Obiezu for VOA News, Abuja, Nigeria.
In South Africa, luxury housing dealers say the market is booming despite the economic damage from the coronavirus pandemic. Real estate agents say the need to work from home and have better security are some of the drivers, while affordable housing for the poor remains a challenge. Linda Giftash reports from Johannesburg.
South Africa's luxury real estate market saw an unexpected boom in 2021 despite the country's broader economic woes. Property analytics firm Lightstone reported that the luxury market experienced a 6-year high in total purchase value of transfers. Realtors say the pandemic has played a role in inspiring homebuyers to go big.
Because everybody is now working from home, everything has changed. People now need almost like a study for every individual in the home. So if you have 2 teenagers and 2 adults, you actually need 4 workspaces now because they all end up working from home.
She says backup electricity sources and updated internet infrastructure are among the amenities buyers are demanding. They're also considering the many ways they use their homes from work to play. Still, the housing landscape is feeling the effects of the pandemic. The country has seen jobless rates top 35%. It's led to people selling their houses, downsizing, and even moving in with other family.
We actually saw deterioration in the number of sales in South Africa. In fact, we saw about a 15% deterioration in the number of sales from the preceding year, and we're down about 50% from the decade prior to that. So ultimately what we need is job recovery in order to encourage demand, both on the rental and on the for sale side of the property market.
Dickens says vacancy rates in city centers have been on the rise since the pandemic began. At the same time, the country has a massive housing shortage. The Center for Affordable Housing Finance in Africa reports a shortfall of 3.7 million homes, and that gap is expected to grow by 178,000 homes every year. It means 20% of urban households are in informal settlements. Government housing isn't being built fast enough, and older houses in communities like Soweto are rapidly falling apart.
As a pastor, I'm crying because this is not the only houses that looks like this. There are even others that is also worse. Even if we could have money, we would have built our own places. But because people, they don't have jobs, so even myself, I'm not working. My wife is not working. You see, so really we are not fine. We are not okay.
The result is a landscape of extremes, with slums and informal settlements on one end and luxury homes on the other.
So the decreasing upper middle class will retreat into compounds behind fences, privatized estates, and sometimes even privatized cities. But that's only sustainable in the medium term. That's not long-term sustainability.
The long-term outlook on the housing market is unclear while the effects of the pandemic are played out. Experts say only economic growth and a drop in unemployment rates will improve the landscape. Linda Giftash for VOA News, Johannesburg.
The housing crisis in Uganda is dire. Up to 70% of the people in Kampala are living in poor conditions, according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. I talked to Anne Rowera, CEO of Smart Havens Africa, a social enterprise aiming to provide sustainable, affordable pathway to home ownership for low-income families.
A few people can afford housing mortgages with banking institutions where there is normally a requirement of collateral, which is sometimes a limitation for majority low-income families and especially women-headed households, since they are the single breadwinners of the families. Of course, when it comes to providing a safe environment for children to have a peaceful mind to access their education, so you find a place a family should call home is an essential basic requirement needed by every family, and that is the core, the focus of Smart Havens Africa. That's the contribution we provide by our overall vision of providing an affordable, sustainable pathway to low-income households, but especially women-headed households.
Mm-hmm. In so many cultures in Africa, women are still denied house ownership. In Kenya, for example, if a husband dies, properties are transferred to the husband's families and women have to fight for it. How does that affect families, society?
Of course, that affects society a lot. And when it comes to inheritance of property, asset ownership, it's not different from Kenya's situation here in Uganda. In Uganda, you will find that some families, some male heads, do not even provide a will before they pass on, and suffering, land property grabbing from the relatives of this widow and her children becomes a very big burden. And most families, most women sometimes normally have to lose their property. So that's why Smart Havens Africa is putting a focus to ensure women have a chance to own an asset so that they are up on the property ladder. So we have a rent to own housing model that helps these families, these women, to pay a fee per month. And after 5 to 8 years, this is a place that they will call their own. So that fee they pay on a monthly basis helps them to be independent owners of these homes compared to the previous renting option where they were moving from area, region to region, and that was also destabilizing the education patterns of their children in order to pursue their future dreams and also fulfill their human potential.
How many women are participating in this affordable housing program, and do you see it having an impact?
Thank you. To date, we have got an opportunity to house 68 families, and these homes, the largest percentage of these homes are women, because we have a blend of female-headed households where the entire household is just a female with their children. Then we also have families where these are women living in the house with the father of the children and their children.
It's time for a break. When we come back, my colleagues Ndimiake, Amina, and Orion join me for a conversation to discuss the solutions that governments and organizations are providing to mitigate the dire housing crisis. We'll be right back.
Empowerment and humanity towards a better world.
Economic and social progress of every society.
Facts and information from key players rather than spectators in politics, business, science and technology.
City, rural, educated, or underprivileged. We care and we listen to what matters to you.
Your voices are our voices.
Welcome back. You are watching Our Voices. For over 1 billion people in Africa, home means safety, security, and stability. This week, we talk about how available affordable housing is for people in Africa, especially for women. According to a research paper published by the World Bank in 2018, women are significantly less likely to own property. Using data from 28 sub-Saharan African countries, the paper reveals that a gender ownership gap results in 20 million fewer women having any housing ownership in sub-Saharan Africa. To discuss and find out what solutions governments and organizations are doing to mitigate the dire housing crisis, joining me are my co-hosts Ndimiake, Amina, and Orion. I'm going to start with you, Ndimi. Women are a especially disadvantaged part of the population when it comes to house ownership. And there was a special research done in Zimbabwe related to that. Can you tell us about that?
Thank you very much, Simanish. Yes, that research is actually called Unearthing Exclusions Toward More Inclusive Zimbabwean Cities. And this was a research that was done examining Zimbabwe's ability to cater to rural-urban migration, which the report found that the country is not adequately providing. Specifically, wanted to examine 3 areas: housing, services, and violence. Well, it turned out that women are disadvantaged from an institutional point of view, corruption. Corruption really limits women's ability to buy and have access to property. So they end up having no land or no homes and no ability to have their own property. And then that results in overcrowding. And from the overcrowding, a lot of women become very vulnerable to abuse. And then this particular report, also done by Cian Maseko, really kind of tried to make sense of the influx of women into the urban areas and finding out that the urban areas are just very, very inadequately sourced to accommodate that issue for women.
Well said. Women always face various challenges, including when it comes to house ownership. In many parts of cities in Africa, rapid population growth, rising costs make constructing house very expensive, and it also takes years to complete. So supply is very low. But Amina, in case of Nigeria, there are houses built and available, but they are empty because they are expensive, even for rent. Why is that?
So many reasons. One of which is the rise of the dollar. So right now in Nigeria, in the black market, $1 is equal to 585 naira. So that's a hike in the price of cement. It's a hike in the price of any other building material that you could think about. You walk into any large city in Nigeria, you walk into Lagos, you just walk into Abuja, you'll see so many beautiful, large family houses. But in reality, you find single women that need housing and you don't have appropriate accommodation for them. The type of developments that are happening right now that people are investing their money in does not cater to women in that context. Instead, it caters for wealthy people. And you find that rent in Nigeria is well over 1 million naira for a year. That is at least 3 times more than the annual income that one person needs.
Interesting. Oriane, can you tell us if there are ways to make housing available at affordable cost?
Definitely, there are some solutions. And when we look at some of the solutions that are coming from the ground from our colleagues reporting on these particular issues, what they're mentioning is that a lot of times rent fluctuates so much that there needs to be regulations on the government level. And that's very true when I look at the countries in the West, like in the US where we are. Laws really do protect the tenant. You can't just change the rent in the middle of the month or in the middle of the year. And that can assure the renter that they're not going to be evicted in the middle of the year or in the middle of the month. And so that, I think, is one of the solutions for governments to really look closely on the laws and regulate the rental agreements between tenants and landlords. The other solution is when you look at the salaries of people who are supposed to be the middle class, the comfortable people in the different countries and the different cities, which are often the government employees. But a lot of times the government employees' salary is not really matching with the current rent in big cities. And so I think that when government try to bring back some projects and some programs that they usually have to subsidize or to support rent of their employees, that really, really helps families. You have military, police, teachers that often need to be supported in the effort of rent. And so sometimes you see governments building homes for their government employees, but you're seeing different places where that is beginning to stop. For instance, in Burundi, government employees are complaining that they no longer have those privileges. They no longer have those funds or homes available for them. And so you will see that $100 a month salary or $200 a month salary on a government employee cannot match $100 salary in Bujumbura, in the capital city, or in Gitega, the new political capital. And so I think when the government supports the employees and also regulates rental agreements, that could be some of the solutions.
And so, Oriane, what you said reminded me of something in Nigeria. So Nigeria in the past, you had, say, the central bank, they had their own quotas. The legislative branch of government, they had their own quotas. But then eventually, at some point, everything kind of got privatized and then they were sold. So you have somebody serves his term out as a senator. Instead of going back to his constituency, he's bought the house and he stays. So the new senator that has to come and replace him has to find housing. And this is one of the things that has spiked up the prices of housing. And on top of that, the cost of living and the income that government employees get, it's simply incongruent. They don't match. So you end up having big, massive, luxury, empty houses in Abuja, at least, and with nobody to fill them out. So there's a massive gap between low income to middle income families and the 1% that's the high income families.
Very right. And I think affordable housing programs initiated by governments or other stakeholders, and they need to consider that as well. I think that's what we have now. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing your thoughts on the subject. It's time for another break. Before we go, what does home mean to you? Are you experiencing challenge searching a home? Please share your views on our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and our handle is @VOA Our Voices. We are also on WhatsApp, and our number is on the screen. When we come back, we will introduce you to African women breaking barriers in the real estate market in our Women's Voice segment. Stay with us. Welcome back. I am Semanyushe Koye and you are watching Our Voices. Ghana's rapid urbanization is producing more waste while fueling a boom in luxury housing that the average Ghanaian cannot afford. One entrepreneur may have the answer to both problems. Senanu Todd has more from Accra.
Ghana's growing economy is driving up migration to its cities, where many Ghanaians find themselves competing for decent and affordable accommodation. The 2021 population census revealed that Ghana needs about 2 million additional housing units to completely accommodate its 30.8 million people.
The deficit that we are talking about is in the lower, medium to lower income brackets, and we don't seem to be doing well in that area. The average estate developer is unable to meet the price points for this category of people.
But whether people are living in luxury or affordable housing, they also find themselves facing a common problem: plastic pollution driven by population growth. But plastic houses may be a possible solution to both problems. Nelson Boateng is building houses made of bricks from recycled plastics and is doing so at a fraction of the cost of concrete buildings. His one-bedroom apartment cost $11,000 and was made with 13,400 kilograms of plastic waste.
We advanced in producing plastics, Lego bricks to build affordable housing for the very low-income Ghanaian. The bricks are not because it's very cheap, the durability is less. It's stronger than the normal concrete bricks that we have, because these bricks can withstand waterlogged areas, can withstand earthquake, and doesn't bend.
Nelson mixes shredded plastic waste materials with sand under high temperatures to mold the inexpensive building bricks. The bricks have worked well for one-story buildings, but to lower cost and accommodate more people, he must find a way to build high-rising buildings.
So we thought of, no, why don't we develop a different pillar corner mold that can carry 2-3 stories. So that is what we are working on now.
The Ghana Standards Authority says test shows that Nelson's building blocks meets quality standards.
It passed the compression strength, just as the ordinary concrete blocks, things also pass. So the product is of good quality and can serve the same purpose as the traditional products.
Nelson hopes his homes made from plastic waste will catch on with the Ghanaian public. Even better, perhaps forward-thinking luxury real estate developers will turn to using the plastic bricks when building their next high-rise. Senanu Todd for VOA News, Accra, Ghana.
Despite the staggering gender gap of property ownership across Africa, some women are using their creativity to break barriers in real estate. Women in Kenya own only a small fraction of the nation's property. Less than 14% of Kenya's real estate brokers are women. Juma Majanga reports from Nairobi on the challenges women face in the real estate industry.
I've sat in on some international development meetings where even just 2 weeks ago were people that are international donors and international funders talking about affordable housing, and everyone at that table were men. Who's at the table talking about where $8 billion are going to go are all men. Now that's unacceptable.
Despite the challenges, more women are venturing into real estate development and finding success. Leah Wamboi quit her beverage selling business to become a real estate developer. Today, she has built over 200 homes in the Nairobi metropolitan area, though she and other women still face multiple challenges in this male-dominated business.
So you work with a contractor who feels that they should not expect to hear things from a woman. There is a particular way that we've been doing things. They think that you probably don't know because you're a woman.
Having built one of the leading construction materials manufacturing companies in Kenya over the past 2 decades, architect Winnie Ngumi understands too well the obstacles women face.
Even today, when I represent the company, say we are seeking a financial facility, we are trying to get a loan, I do face bias. It is almost as if I should have a man with me in the room when I'm negotiating for credit lines for the business.
A networking organization called Women in Real Estate, or WIRE, is working to help.
We have a mentorship program that we take professionals to walk with them over that journey and to just assure them to be there to answer any questions that they might have, even addressing sexual harassment issues that they experience, and to help them to be confident that they can speak out about these issues and that that space is theirs also.
Industry players say it will take time to come out of deeply rooted cultural and traditional beliefs in Kenya and across Africa that make it harder for women to thrive in many sectors. But advocates say women like Robin Emerson, Leah Wamboi and Winnie Ngumi show that change is coming. Juma Majanga for VOA News, Nairobi.
That's our show for this week. On behalf of Our Voices colleagues and everyone at the Voice of America, I am Simbanyishe Goya. Until next time, stay safe.